Hello everybody, I hope you're well and welcome back to Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa. How is everybody doing today? I'm not sure if you can tell by the sound of my voice, but I'm ill. No! What's up, you ill? I'm ill and it's nothing terrible. I can survive. I can still get up and do things. I'm not ill. But basically I can just feel my voice going. I've been waking up every day and my nodules in my throat are feeling so swollen, and having a sore throat as a podcaster it's basically like tearing an ACL. This is all I have. This is my most important asset, my voice. And if you're wondering, Jordan, close your wardrobe. It's a bit scruffy back there. If you can spot in that second compartment, there is a little Boots sleeping, and I don't want to disturb her. And if I close the thing, she'll start freaking out a little bit. Also, I'm worried in case about me forgetting that she's there, and I have to leave the house in an hour and a half. But how is everybody doing today? I'm not feeling very well, but I can't even be annoyed about it because I haven't taken any medicine. I haven't done a Lemsip. To be fair, it's a mixture of ill. This is the thing. I thought that I was hungover at first because me and Ruby went to the Parakeet yesterday, which, by the way, is one of my favorite restaurants in London. It's so good. We went to the Parakeet last night. What did we eat? She had oysters. I didn't eat oysters, duck, these hoisin duck tartlets that are insane. We had braised leek, we had mackerel, we had this curried crab rice, we had chocolate mousse, we had potatoes with onion burnt butter. Guys, so good. It was so good. And we had half a bottle of wine. So when I felt myself sort of stirring this morning and not feeling great, I was like, maybe I'm just hungover. But as soon as I swallowed, I felt that my throat was really swollen. So yes, I am unwell. I am not well. And this is the thing. I nearly was I just not do an episode this week, especially because this topic is really interesting. But I'm not being funny. If I can go to a ring making workshop later, then I'm well enough to record a podcast episode. Sorry, you know what I think was one of the craziest things growing up? When and maybe I understand that my parents were probably doing this as a way to trying to put me off from pulling sickies at school. But what was the whole, if you're well enough to watch TV, you're well enough to go to school? And maybe this is a sign of my age. The fact that even though TV was in everyone's houses, TV was still not necessarily a novelty. I guess screens in general were still a little bit of a novelty, and they didn't take such a permanent stake in our lives. During this time, when my mum used to be if you're well enough to watch TV, you're well enough to go to school. And I was in primary school, smartphones didn't even exist yet. So I think there was a lot more fear over the screen. And I just remember I would be ill from school and I would just have to stare at a wall because my mum wouldn't let me watch TV because she said, if you're well enough to watch TV, you're well enough to go to school. But no, if I'm well enough to go to a ring making workshop later, I'm well enough to record a podcast episode, which I am so excited for, by the way, because basically I want to become a rings person. I think people that are ring people, as in people that have a go-to stack of really nice rings, chic. A go-to jewelry stack in general is chic. A go-to stack of rings is particularly chic. And I get my nails done every month and I get really fun nail art on it. These ones are actually quite Christmassy, I can't lie. But if you're not watching, I basically got raspberry, dark red, and also yellow tartan nails. They're very Vivienne Westwood, very Scottish, very Pink Pantheress. To be fair, this doesn't look much like Scottish tartan at all, but not I'm an expert on that, but they are just so cute. And you know what would make my nails look even cuter? If I had some nice rings. So I've been looking at a few different places, looking for a nice ring. I think that rings, nice ones, are very expensive. And I understand why they're expensive. I understand. Do you know what I mean? But I was for 100 quid, I could just order a ring or go to the shop and buy a ring. Or I can go to a ring making workshop and make a whole day out of it. Well, it's not even a whole day out of it because I need to, I'm working this morning and I need to come home and like do some chores and stuff. Like it's truly, and to people, I don't want to be a day of it. I can't be asked today. Honestly, no, you know what? I don't low-key wish that I wasn't going. I am just really tired and I feel really ill. So I'm going to a ring making workshop, and I've always wanted to go to a ring making workshop, but it's quite difficult to get people to go to a ring making workshop with you because, number one, anyone who did have an interest in going to a ring making workshop has already been. Every person that I've asked, they're like, oh, I've done that before. And apparently a ring making workshop is not something that you do twice, really, from what the general consensus is. And then anybody else that I'm trying to sort of like be like, oh, do you want to come with me? 90 quid is steep for like a workshop moment. I understand why it does cost that much because obviously it's girl the materials. But I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go on my own, and I'm very excited, even though I don't seem it, because I'm ill and I'm really tired and I'm literally like, oh no, my God. What did we have? We had the pre-drinks episode. We had the hungover episode. Now we have the ill episode, or I guess it's like the ill sleepy episode, because I can't sleep when I drink, I can't sleep when I'm ill. So like I got in at 1 and then I've been up since like 6, so I'm running on like 5 hours today, which like look isn't the worst, but it definitely isn't the best. But yes, that is what I'm up to this weekend. I'm recording this episode on a Saturday, so I went to the parakeet yesterday with Ruby and it was lovely. I've got my ring making workshop today, I'm seeing my dad tomorrow, and then I'm still like work wise I'm still obviously cooking up this Lads Mags video, which is really really fun. And bless, my manager was like, she's like, oh, you should like scan, because I have loads of magazines, and she was like, oh, you should like scan the magazines in and send it to Kath for the edit, because I think it would look really good. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. And then I was like, oh, Nick, like I haven't got a scanner. And she was like, oh babe, just bring it to the WeWork. Do you think I'm going to bring my nudie magazines and scan it on like the public scanner at WeWork? I mean, to be fair, I'm going to have to do what I'm going to have to do. And one thing about me, I am not, under any circumstances, buying a scanner or a printer. I am so glad that like the disdain for printers is not just a me issue. I saw a TikTok the other day, or like an Instagram reel, that was like, the once a year that you have to print something out of an emergency and this is how your printer acts. And it was basically like the printer not doing its job. I don't understand. I genuinely have such long-standing beef with printers. I absolutely hate printers. That's why I get all of my research documents printed at Ryman's now, like, because I can't. That's one negativity that I was not going to bring back into my life. I feel like if I bought a scanner printer again, it would be like taking back an ex, where I'm like so convinced that they have changed, but they're just the same person. I'm like reading through my intro and it's so funny. I don't know how I related to this. I've just put songs I can never be in a bad mood when listening to. I think, have I been in a bad mood this week? Not really. I'm just ill today, but I am curious to know, this is a bit of a random offshoot, what songs are songs of yours, and that does not mean your favorite song. I am not asking you what your favorite song is. What I'm asking is, what is a song that you can listen to that no matter what, you just cannot be in a bad mood when you listen to this song? So mine is Texas in a Smile. Like, even though it's like the song is borderlining on quite annoying and I guess like maybe a bit cringe, if I'm walking down the street, especially if it's sunny, especially if the football's on or something, and then all I've got is, you make me feel, yeah, you make me feel what? Like, guys, if I hear that, it's impossible for me to be in a bad mood. Even if it doesn't put me in a good mood, I certainly will not be in a bad mood. There's In a Smile, and then there's a recent one that I saw this TikTok of these two kids performing New York at like their school talent show. And I just can't, like, whenever I need like a little buzz, whenever I need like some motivation, living in the big city, I just play Start Spreading the News. And it's so cute because a kid is singing it. He's going like, start spreading the news. So New York, Frank Sinatra, and Texas in a Smile are my two songs that I listen to. Like it literally makes it impossible for me to be in a bad mood. But I've written down some thoughts of the week somewhere. So my thought is just a singular thought of the week this week is, please stop ringing me with your AirPods. Guys, maybe it's because I've recently, and I'm not a complete wire headphones convert because I actually have lost them. I don't know where I've put them, like what's happened to them, but I have lost my wire headphones. So I'm back on like my big ear, like the big Sony ones. But what I do is if I need to ring someone and I'm wearing the Sony ones, I know the Sony ones aren't great for taking calls. So I will disconnect their headphones and I'll put the phone next to my ear. I am putting out a public service announcement. Please stop calling me on your AirPods. I can't hear a word you're saying. I feel like we're taking the phone call inside of a crisp packet, an extremely crunchy crisp packet at that. A crisp packet which is also full of crisps. So it's like double crispy, crunchy, plus a TV static is going, plus you're constantly cutting out. I think that Apple have to pay for their crimes of somehow trying to convince people that calling you on AirPods is okay. And I'm just thinking of like because the thing is I don't jump onto like meetings that often really. I'm just thinking of when people call me with their phone. I need to know if the AirPods epidemic has impacted Zoom calls, Google Meets, the corporate workplace, the work from homers. I need to know if AirPod phone calls have had any kind of an impact on you. Or maybe I'm just a diva. Maybe I'm just a diva because I can't take it any longer. And then for our set of the week, I'm feeling like such a techno babe when I listen to my Ben UFO Boiler Room Sugar Mountain set. Yeah. And this is the thing, I've talked to people about it and they've been like, you're really late onto the trend of Ben UFO. I have a really bad habit where I only start listening to someone after I've seen them like play. So like, for example, I saw Ben UFO at Rally and now I've started getting into his sets and into his music, which is so fun, by the way. Very switches the genre, very like we've got some fun bouncy things. Like this thing, I feel very like just such a techno girl when I listen to my Ben UFO set. Yeah. So I watch like when I find a YouTuber that I like, I will watch a backlog of their content, a complete backlog of their content. But when I'm watching it, and this does relate to this point, I promise, when I do watch a backlog of someone's content, I try to keep it seasonal, if that makes sense. So if I'm like experiencing, for example, now we are in the sort of autumn winter season, if I'm like watching a backlog of someone's vlogs, I will watch only their vlogs in the autumn winter. Anyways, I was binge watching back loads of my friend Susie's videos, of course. I'd probably say Susie is genuinely my favourite YouTuber ever. And she does vlogs and she does fashion videos. And I made the mistake of watching back her like gala vlog. And guys, you know how I was saying about how I'm looking forward to the winter? I'm telling you, I will be over like this little, I can't wait for it to be summer in literally a day. Once I like hang up my little Christmas decorations here and do my tree, I'll be fine. I'm dressing really well because it's the winter. It will be fine. But something about watching someone have fun at a festival. And the way I started getting like really gassed for my festivals, because obviously I told you guys in my last episode what festivals I've booked and how excited I am, I then realised it's November. Jordan, babe, it's November. And then I started going, oh my God, it's so far away. But it's fine. I can't remember how I got onto this. I've been listening to a lot of Ben UFO sets and then I've been like watching Susie's festival vlogs and I'm like, get me on a field and shaking ass right now. But it'll be okay. But winter season is approaching. So I was spreading misinformation in my last episode. I thought Black Friday was 2 weeks ago. Wrong. Black Friday was yesterday and I did nearly all of my Christmas shopping. I just had to get gifts for my dad. And I need to finish a couple of the Secret Santa gifts for Jack. And I am feeling on top of the world. And I think maybe when that arrives, I will start feeling a little more little more peppy. I don't know, like a little more peppy, a little more ready for Christmas, especially because I'm being so organized. I think I'm being really organized this year because last year I had so much work on. This time last year, I was being worked like a dog by my old management. I just think that I had the option to turn down the work. I didn't, you know what I mean? I take responsibility in this too, but I was being worked like a dog, man. So I was just so stressed that I did all my Christmas shopping on the 23rd, as we famously know here, that it feels really good to have like the mental space to be able to like do my Christmas shopping. Like I've already ordered my wrapping paper and ribbon, and then I decided to see, this is the thing with Black Friday, right? They get you with the deals. You think that you're just going there to do just your Christmas shopping for your friends and your relative. Wrong. Because to be fair, I didn't go that crazy. I bought a pair of trousers from Peachy Dan. I was ordering some road stuff. I saw one of those like lip glazes in like this raspberry shade. Can't resist a little raspberry because obviously raspberry goes with my hair so well. And then I ran out of shampoo and conditioner the other day. So, sorry, you can see my baked bean socks. I got some ran out of shampoo and conditioner the other day. And usually I use, which by the way is a great shampoo and conditioner. If you want something which is like really cost effective, affordable, I use the Costco own brand Kirkland shampoo and conditioner, which you can order online. I order it online. I don't go to Costco for it. My mum used to go to Costco and get it for me. I usually use that, but it ran out. And I was like, you know what? I couldn't be bothered to pay for this separate delivery. I was already ordering something on Cult Beauty. And I was like, you know what? My hair's been feeling a little dry recently. So why don't I like treat myself to a bougie shampoo conditioner? And this is the thing. It's good to get a bougie shampoo conditioner sometimes, because sometimes you actually are like, oh, it actually like is literally the same as the Kirkland one. But I decided to get the Way. I hear so many good things about Way. Sorry, I don't know why I'm doing that. I hear so many good things about Way. So I ordered the shampoo and conditioner, and I think that is all the Black Friday shopping I did for myself. Oh, and one more thing. I was thinking about like wrapping my presents, and I saw, and I've had my eye on this for a while. There is this wooden Miffy stamp set. I don't know whether it's actually vintage or not, but I bought one on eBay, but I don't know whether it's like a one-off thing or not, because I've seen it for like over a year, and it's this wooden Miffy stamp set, and I thought that it would be really cute for my wrapping. I know, look at me caring about wrapping, like what the fuck, for my wrapping, because I've got brown paper and I've tied a little ribbon, and I'm gonna like put the Miffy stamps all over the paper. Like, guys, like, is that kind of magical? So that's what I treated myself to on Black Friday. But it's crazy how it gets you. I thought that I was free from it because I was like, I don't, have anything. Actually, there was one thing that I planned on buying, and it was those Peachy Den trousers, and I was specifically waiting for the Black Friday sale. And honestly, I need to go and get them tailored, but no regrets. They're a really, really nice pair of trousers. I've been looking for a pair of like smart black trousers for a really long time. I had like my go-to pair, which were like from Next. I got them from Depop. They were originally from Next though. But this one thing about me, I was so easily swayed by my tailor. I have like a different tailor now, who I don't really like as much, to be honest. I don't really know what happened to my old tailor. Miss him though. I was like so easily swayed by my tailor. And I remember I went to him because the trousers fit super low, to just take a snip off the waist to make them like sit a tiny bit higher. And he was basically like, we need to take some off the bum and some off the length. And then he took so much off that like I felt like I was wearing like ankle swingers, and then I also felt just like very uncomfortable, and honestly like they do not fit me right. Like they are like way too small for me now. I get a bit tailor happy. Sometimes I trust their judgment a bit too much, and like you need to factor in that like what they think looks good could actually be very different from what you think looks good. Like that tailor always thought that I wore my trousers way too low, and he was always like, you wear your trousers too low and it looks like you're wearing a nappy. Oh, I know, it gagged me. I still liked him though. But speaking of, shall we do a little outfit of the day? I actually really like this outfit, considering that I have a massive pile of clothes on the floor here. And that's not because, you guys know me, I often preach this thing of like, if you shop all the time but you don't like anything in your wardrobe, you have an issue with your consumption and like the way that it's like driven and blah, 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 blah. Of course, everybody has this moment so they feel like I have nothing to wear. I feel like I was like struggling with what to wear in this past couple of days because I desperately need to do some laundry. Like, I'm talking, we've got an over 2.5 week build up back in that ensuite. We have so much laundry to do. So all of my like go-to pieces, and also I got a few new pieces that like the leg's too long, so I need to get them tailored and all of this. So I am actually really happy with this outfit because it's just so cute. I've worn this top on the podcast all the time. It's from Isabella Vrana. And then I'm just wearing these, let me try and like show you on this chair. These are from a brand called Karla Laidlaw. There are these waffle tracksuit bottoms with these like fold over belt. I just wanted something cozy today because can I be asked to leave the house? No. Am I going to leave the house anyway? Yes, because the rings aren't going to make themselves. But it's also raining, so I have to factor that in. First I was going to wear those like black suit trousers from Peachy Den and just tuck them into my Uggs. Can't be wearing Uggs in the rain. Got to factor it all in. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd wear like wellies or something, to be honest. But I think that the wellies would like overstimulate me. Like, you know what song I have like stuck in my head? You guys know me. I'm reading Caledonian Road. I'm towards the end-ish of the book. I've got the winter part to go. I'm about like maybe a quarter into the winter chapter, winter book of the book, which is like the last bit. And please do not tell me what happens. Please don't tell me what happens to anybody that's reading it. But maybe this is like me when I read a fiction book once. But I have been listening to The Moment by Tame Impala, which if anybody here is reading Caledonian Road, this is so Campbell's descent, like spiral coded, that song. It is so Campbell's spiral because he's like going through a spiral now. His entire life is falling apart. He's going through it. Whenever I think I'm having a bad day, I think about Campbell Flynn from Caledonian Road, and then I know that everything's going to be okay. But just before we get into today's episode, if you do find yourself wanting a little bit more voice notes content, don't forget to subscribe to the Substack. Yes, we have a Substack. You guys have probably heard this spiel 1 million times before, but over on the Substack, there is some content which is available for everyone. We have a couple of written articles to go alongside the episodes. I'm also a little bit active on notes as well, but we also have exclusive content for paid subscribers. We do a monthly bonus episode where we tend to cover a little more, controversial topics than on YouTube. So we've covered Sydney Sweeney, Bonnie Blue, J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter adults. And most recently, we covered Lily Allen, David Harbour, and basically my perspectives and experiences with open relationships, which was such a crazy episode. I actually had so much fun recording it. I was talking about field, I was talking about threesomes. Like, I truly did not hold back in that episode. There was so much juicy tea in that episode. And we also do live streams, which used to be monthly, but now I'm bumping it up to be twice monthly because I have so much fun on the live streams. It's so great to properly talk to you guys and connect with you guys. We also have a group chat where everyone can contribute, and it is just the cutest, sweetest thing ever. I absolutely love it. Of course, it's absolutely no pressure if not. Substack is just an avenue for me to make bonus content for you guys. And it's also really nice because I feel like we really foster a community over there because I do the live streams and we all chat together and we all talk on the group chat. It's just great. But yes, if you do find yourself wanting a little bit more, links in the bio. But if not, absolutely no worries. And let's get into it. So in today's episode of Voice Notes with Jordan Theresa, I want to talk about something which I am seeing a complete influx of, and that is what I call cool girl marketing. Over on TikTok, I feel like it is inescapable. I feel like I'm being completely inundated with cool girl marketing. What's the next cool girl handbag? Cool girl fashion brands. What other cool girl stuff is there? What the cool girls are wearing. And sometimes this stuff, of course, they're always advertising products, but I think something that really grabs my attention is how much of this content is directly linked to TikTok Shop. So how many of these influencers that are sat on TikTok saying, this is the next cool girl handbag, have directly linked the bag in their TikTok shop and are taking a commission from it. And this marketing, this cool girl marketing, is extremely effective. These videos of people saying, this is the next cool girl handbag, this is what the cool girls are wearing, they have hundreds of thousands of views, tens of thousands of likes, and I'm assuming have influenced many young women to open their purses and open their purses and buy that bag on TikTok shop. And I think there's a lot of conversation at the moment about what it means to be a cool girl and why we're seeing so much of this cool girl content. This episode was actually inspired by a video essay from Mickey Galvin, I believe her name is. She called her video essay Stop Trying to Be a Cool Girl. By the way, it's absolutely fantastic. It's such a good video. I'd highly recommend. And I want to explore this phenomenon more in today's episode. I want to talk about why we're seeing such an influx of cool girl marketing, why it's so effective, like why in our 20s do we still care about being cool. And another thing that I was thinking about as I was making this episode was what I call the coolness paradox, which is basically a phenomenon that I noticed where, I mean, obviously cool is subjective. It differs from person to person, but a lot of people would argue that when someone is cool, it's because they're being, countercultural. It's because they're going against the grain, and almost like advertising a mass-produced bag under the guise of it being a cool girl bag. Is that almost a bit of an oxymoron? Like, is there a paradox at play here, which I wanted to explore? And I also want to discuss why people seem to have this desire to be a cool girl from the perspective of finding your identity. I think the subject of identity and within Gen Z, especially in this day and age of algorithms and the fact that culture, so first of all, young people's third spaces is very much on TikTok now, but also these third spaces are where culture is being created. But what culture people see is entirely decided by social media algorithms, which in turn have a huge influence on how young people shape and form their identities. So firstly, let's talk about the origins of the cool girl. Mickey Galvin spoke about this in her video essay, that the origins of the cool girl can be traced back to that very infamous Gone Girl, cool girl monologue. Just a little example. Men always say that as a defining compliment, don't they? She's a cool girl. Being the cool girl means I am a hot, brilliant, funny woman who adores football, poker, dirty jokes, and burping, who plays video games, drinks cheap beer, loves threesomes and anal sex, and jams hot dogs and hamburgers into her mouth like she's hosting the world's biggest culinary gangbang while somehow maintaining a size 2. Because cool girls are above all hot and understanding. Cool girls never get angry. They only smile in a chagrined, I don't know how to pronounce that word, loving manner and let their man do whatever they want. Go ahead, shit on me. I don't mind. I'm the cool girl. And the cool girls are even more pathetic. They're not even pretending to be the woman they want to be. They're pretending to be the woman a man wants them to be. So thinking about almost the Gone Girl origins of the word cool girl, it's really interesting how the phrase has evolved from essentially being derogatory. Cool girl is another stand-in for being a pick-me, has evolved into today's perception where being a cool girl is actually desired, it's actually wanted, it's seen as cool. Let's move on from that very quickly and talk about the cool girl as she exists today. And I want to present my theories as to why I think the cool girl has come about when she has, why cool girl marketing has come about, and why cool girl marketing is so effective. So I want to cast our minds back to around 2022, 2023, which was the era of the TikTok core and aesthetics. Honestly, TikTok aesthetics, I can only describe them as an epidemic. They were absurd. And this is the thing, right? They started out, they weren't without their problems, but they started out being fairly broad in a way. We had the clean girl, we had cottagecore, we had coquette, we had balletcore, quiet luxury, and these TikTok aesthetics evolved into things that were so niche, so ridiculous that everybody after a while was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Tomato Girl Summer, all right, let's never forget Tomato Girl Summer, Coastal Grandma, Eclectic Grandpa, and the one which killed it all, which was the Mob Wife. And the reason why these aesthetics went from, clean girl, quiet luxury to Tomato Girl Summer and Coastal Grandma was because these aesthetics, they would come and people would get bored and they would die. They were a passing trend, right? So people would, essentially were trying to create more and more and more. But this is the thing, there's only so many aesthetics and trends that you can create. And of course, at times, these aesthetics could just be a little bit fun. It's tongue-in-cheek, Danya, it's tongue-in-cheek. It's funny. They were a little bit fun. They were a fun way to experiment with your style. But I think what really captured people's attention about these aesthetics is that they were selling you so much more than just a way to dress. They were selling you so much more than just fashion. They were selling you a lifestyle. They sold you a lifestyle and they sold you an identity. When people would talk about the clean girl aesthetic or quiet luxury or even tomato girl summer, you weren't just seeing outfits. You were seeing lifestyle pictures. You were seeing food that you were eating. You were seeing places that you were going to. You were seeing, the people that you were friends with, maybe the people you'd be in relationships with. And I especially think almost this selling of a pre-packaged, very definitive identity was very appealing to Gen Z. It's very appealing to young people who are in the pursuit of identity. But I think what made these TikTok aesthetics so enticing, almost that promise of identity, is what they were criticized for. I think the TikTok aesthetic where it was almost obvious that this criticism was the eclectic grandpa aesthetic. It feels so stupid being like, I'm seeing my dad tomorrow and he's going to be like, what were you doing at work yesterday? What were you talking about? And I was like, I was just talking about the eclectic grandpa aesthetic. So basically, the eclectic grandpa aesthetic, in the words, is dressing like an eclectic grandpa. But what makes the eclectic grandpa is the fact that he's been collecting, his clothes, his accessories, his trinkets for decades. And that's something which can't be recreated with just a few hours of online shopping, despite what TikTok tries to tell you. Yes, these aesthetics could be fun. Yes, they could be a fun way to experiment with your style. But I think a lot of people began to realize that these aesthetics is that they were just another way to peddle products. It was just another manifestation of consumerism. It was just another avenue for people to be sold more stuff, for people to sell stuff to you, for you to buy stuff. And look, you guys know me. I am not a minimalist by any means. But when it comes to consumerism, what I catch onto is the more unsatisfactory and mindless purchases. And a lot of people who were indulging in and experimenting with different aesthetics noticed that they were constantly shopping, but always felt like they had nothing to wear. I especially can imagine this was a particular problem for people who would experiment with aesthetics a lot, because you're buying all this stuff, you're building a wardrobe, but none of your clothes are cohesive or go together because they obviously all represent different TikTok aesthetics. So not only do these people feel like they have nothing to wear, but also they feel even more lost in their identity than they did when they first started, playing with these aesthetics and styles. Now, how the TikTok aesthetics epidemic, which happened in 2023, relates to this influx of cool girl marketing is as these TikTok aesthetics began to go on and they died and then new ones came along, as I said earlier, they began to become more and more upset. We went from like clean girl, quiet luxury to like tomato girl summer, mob wife aesthetic, where everyone was like, okay, this is getting a little bit silly now. And people got fatigued. I think people began to really clock on how much this was a ploy to sell them stuff, and people got bored and the aesthetics, very shortly died after. But this is the thing, is that there still needed to be some kind of method to sell you things under the guise and the illusion that it would somehow help you find your identity. Enter the cool girl. Cool girl marketing has absolutely taken the place of TikTok aesthetics marketing. And if anything, it's easier because instead of having to fit these different TikTok shop products into tomato girl summer or bloatcore, you could just insert any product and say that it's the next cool girl product. It's a lot more of a large umbrella. And this is the thing, this marketing really works. Even I'm someone who, if I'm scrolling on TikTok and someone said, these are the fashion brands that cool girls are shopping from, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying attention. I want to be cool. And similarly to TikTok aesthetics, cool girl marketing isn't just selling you products, it's selling you, number one, a lifestyle, but most importantly, it's selling you an identity. And similarly to TikTok aesthetics, cool girl marketing isn't just selling you fashion subscription. It isn't just selling you clothes or skincare or beauty products to buy. It's selling you a lifestyle and it's selling you an identity. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but by selling you this secure and cool identity and also this cool girl lifestyle of being dressed well and going to cool restaurants and nights out and having loads of friends, you are also being sold the potential of happiness. And I know that this may seem a little cuckoo bananas to jump from being sold a cool girl handbag on TikTok Shop to being promised happiness, but we all have preconceived notion of what a cool girl is. Beautiful, well-dressed, goes to cool bars and restaurants, has an active social life, has an abundance of friends. Of course, we are going to have this cool girl in our heads when being sold a cool girl product. Even if the person selling it is just in their bedroom holding the handbag up and is only telling us this is a cool girl handbag and nothing more. Because we have that preconceived notion in our head of what a cool girl is, we realize we're not just being sold a handbag, we are being sold an identity, a lifestyle, happiness. But the problems really begin to arise when we consider how we define a cool girl. Mickey Galvin covered this in her video essay, but the social media cool girl is white, thin, conventionally attractive. I don't want to rip her video off, so I am just going to leave it linked down below. And it is honestly like such a great video to de-influence you from like the cool girl propaganda. I think relating to Mickey's video, one thing I noticed is the relationship between like coolness and whiteness and gentrification. I'm just speaking from my perspective of living in the UK and living in London. There will be, areas of London or just like trends in general that have been carried out by non-white communities, by working class communities for decades. But as soon as a white middle class person does it, it's seen as cool. You can see that in streetwear. You can see that in, again, different areas in London when the Kardashians got, lip filler and BBLs and co-opted these different features, which obviously aren't exclusive to non-white people or non-white women, but often it was non-white women that were being mocked for having those features. But as soon as white women co-opted them, then it was seen as cool and trendy. But something which has really grabbed my attention when making this episode, and I don't know whether I've thought of this myself or whether I got it from a source, so I'm very sorry if I did get this from a source. I will try and credit it. But when you like think of something that you're like, wait, that is really good. Like, am I sure that came out from my head? I potentially think that cool is the new beautiful, and promises of being cool are becoming just as powerful marketing as promises of being beautiful, maybe perhaps even more powerful marketing in the future, because our increased access to beautifying products and procedures and treatments, beauty is becoming more accessible, which is why the bar for what is considered beautiful is constantly moving. Meanwhile, being cool is a lot harder to grasp. Don't get me wrong. Beauty and the way that you perceive yourself like physically is still so deeply tied into your psyche, but perhaps beauty can be ever so slightly easier to pinpoint because you can sort of name what is conventionally attractive, like full lips, small, this is obviously what I don't believe this, but full lips, small nose, a specific body type, like you guys get what I mean. You can say that you physically want to look a specific way, but cool is a lot more difficult to pin down. It's an energy, it's a feeling, it's very, very broad, and it's often that people can, get procedures and still not feel happy with their appearance. But sometimes people do get a procedure, they get their lips done or they get their nose done and they feel great after. But I actually find that when you're in the pursuit of cool, when you're buying things and you buy what you think is going to be your cool girl outfit, you put it on and you still don't feel cool. And that is what I think can be the slight difference between coolness and beauty. Beauty has become easier to attain, and I actually think that beauty is easier to attain than coolness. Some people may argue that the pursuit of cool is going to replace the pursuit of beauty. I rather think that the pursuit of cool is going to run alongside the pursuit of beauty, because I'm not being funny. The pursuit of beauty is so ingrained in our lifestyles, is so ingrained in our routines that I actually think most of the time we don't realize that we're pursuing beauty. So for example, when I go and get my lashes done and my eyebrows done, I get my waxes and I get my hair done, that is so part of my monthly routine that I forget that I am doing that to pursue beauty, because it has just just do it so automatically. I'm almost on autopilot. But because that pursuit of beauty has become so ingrained in our routines, it's become so a part of our lifestyle, that leaves space to replace it with the pursuit of cool, something that we can really actively do by, purchasing X product, recreating X outfit, etc. And I know that some people aren't going to agree with me, but I just think it's worth raising and questioning this, because I think that marketing takes a new shape every year, maybe even every few months, to be honest. And I think that it is worth keeping alert when a kind of marketing, like cool girl marketing, is tapping into our psyche when we may not even realize it. I was really interested to explore, why does this idea of cool tap into our psyche so well? I gathered a few little opinions here and there. Sorry, my throat is so sore. Cool means admiration. It means acceptance by society. Cool is also similar to beauty, another form of social currency. Also, this idea of cool, maybe it taps into our childhood psychology. We have so many memories in school of being cool, thinking that someone is cool or being called a loser. Also, I think that cool is the opposite of cringe. And in our digital age, we have a particular aversion to cringe. And I also think that when you think of yourself as cool, it does in turn mean self-satisfaction and peace with yourself and your identity. And essentially trends-based marketing in general, and cool girl marketing is included in that, taps into our societal need to quote unquote keep up. And tying cool girl marketing further into identity, I cannot imagine being a teenager or growing up in the era of TikTok Shop. I would say my teen years and my early 20s was when I was the most lost in my identity. And not only was I really lost in my identity, I was desperate to find it. I wanted to find my personal style. I think that's honestly why so many people place so much emphasis on finding your personal style and wanting to find their personal style, because it becomes such, again, a deep part of your identity. But I remember I just wanted to figure out who I was so badly, because I guess when you're a teenager and in your early 20s, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a teenager, when I was in my early 20s, I was deeply uncomfortable in my own skin. And for example, I had a little bit of a discomfort in my own skin moment this morning, so I couldn't really find anything to wear because all of my clothes are in the laundry. And it's so weird that when I get that feeling again, that is literally how I felt in school every single day, and it's literally how I felt in my early 20s every single day. So I can't imagine being like that and having access to TikTok Shop, or being presented all these different TikTok events a couple years ago, being presented with this is the next cool girl this is the next cool girl that, because I would have fallen into that marketing, because I would have been so desperate to keep up, and I would have been so desperate to find my identity and be comfortable within myself. And I think that it's young people specifically, especially young women, that are really susceptible to this kind of marketing. And look, I want to make it very clear that I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be cool, or wanting not even to be cool, wanting to feel cool. Obviously, cool is subjective. I know that there's some people that's going to be listening that, are really comfortable with themselves, and they think that wanting to be cool is lame, and that cool people is just what's popular. To me, coolness is the only thing that I can think of is being cool, and coolness is passion. Whenever there's all the people in my life and that I follow who I think are really cool, are really passionate about something, and they have this way of presenting themselves. And they're all so different from each other, but because they're so almost dedicated to each of their passions, I'm oh, you're cool. That's what cool is to me. So I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to feel cool. I think I'm saying this because I think I'm cool. Oh, me and my hairdresser had that, we had a moment once we were in an appointment, and we were both just going we're just so cool. But it's nice to walk down the street and feel cool. It's a nice feeling. And trust me, I don't feel like that all the time. But I understand why people do want to feel like that, because I want to feel like that. I think that what is worth flagging, feeling cool often can't be sold. And most of the time, the more you try to actively pursue cool through material purchasing, the more dissatisfied you feel, especially in terms of fashion rather. I've said on this podcast that the best vision that I've had with my wardrobe and the best I felt within my personal style was when I wasn't buying anything, because I was like, I have this stuff and I like these outfits and I would dress it this way. And if I wanted to switch it up, I would like switch up some two things together. When you're adding things, it can make things a little blurry and a little overwhelming. And I would like to say it's often the same people who are trying to sell you something on TikTok Shop, are partaking in popular cool girl trends, are also the ones 6 months later that will tell you the trend is outdated or boring or feature the trend in like a wear this, not that. I am not going to sit here and say what I think makes someone cool or whether you should care about being cool or not. I just mostly want to bring attention to cool girl marketing specifically and how coolness doesn't have to be so deeply tied with consumption, unlike what these TikTok Shop girlies try to make you believe. Yeah, and I guess another thing is I don't want this video, I'm going to wrap this episode up now, but I don't want this episode to come across like I'm being the cool police, that I'm literally like, that's cool and that's not, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not being funny, I don't care. I just wanted to bring more attention to cool girl marketing so we could sort of all clock onto it for what it is. That is basically this episode wrapped up. That, guys, this is all just marketing. This is all just marketing. I'm so sorry. I would love to do a long conclusion, but my throat is about to give out, so I'm gonna go. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the rest of this episode. This was such an interesting episode. I wish that I was like more well so I could like record it a bit better, but I hope that you guys enjoyed and I will see you for a next one. Sorry for the abrupt ending. Bye.